Hi, and welcome to Tiger Art. Today, we will be continuing our look at the Forger app for iPad. You will have some time today to explore more features of the app and learning a bit about what you can do with these files or how you can save them and share them. So now that we've been modeling some things, hopefully we've learned how to save them along the way. We can look at the model itself and how to change a few things, how to make it work better in the VR environments and the AR environments that we will be putting it into, but also just going through the process of you sharing your model with me, not just a screenshot. This way I'll be able to see your actual 3D model. So there's a few more steps to today that are a bit of the less exciting things, but there's still a lot of the fun modeling that we can learn. Let's get started with Forger Part 3. Okay, so we're going to open Forger up today and we're going to start something new. So let's start with a sphere as usual. And we can pinch fingers together to get that zoomed out a bit. Let's go to our three circles up in the top right and let's turn wireframe on. Let's change the material. So if you can remember back to how to do that, you got your menus up here across the top. This one right here is materials. You're going to hit the blue plus sign and you will select lit sphere. Pick the white one, hit apply to selection. Now if I turn wireframe off, you can see the white, but I want wireframe on while I'm modeling. It helps me see what's going on here. So once again, touching outside the circle, I can move around my sphere. Touching on the circle will actually do something to it. I'm going to undo that. So taking two fingers and sliding back and forth gets you moving around. So you can move all the way around this thing, because a 3D sculpture needs to look good from all directions. It's not like making a painting where you really only have to make one view of it look good. Here you need to make it look interesting from all directions. So today we'll talk a bit about that. So how do we make the shape change quite a bit? Let's see. There's a few ways to do this. I could take the pull tool and just size it up, something that's very big like this, and with symmetry turned on I could just pull it out in this direction. Now only pulling a little bit at a time, so grabbing here and pulling, and grabbing over here a bit more and pulling. So I'm pulling and stretching out all of those squares in the geometry there. Remembering what we talked about last time, if you just grab it and yank out away in one direction and then twist to the direction, you end up with this mangled, wrinkled mesh that really can't be used. You may have something that looks cool from time to time, but it's not good for what we're doing. You can't do anything with it. So using this really large pull size brush, I can start making this into something other than a sphere. So we're making a sea creature, as I probably told you before. Making an interesting sea creature means it's probably not going to be based on a sphere. There's not a lot of sea creatures that are shaped like a ball. So you probably want something that's much more, maybe longer and skinnier, kind of like this, to start with. So for adding parts onto this, let's say I wanted to add something up here, like that's way too big now. I need to size my brush down. So if I add something there, if I add something here, and then maybe here, now I'm starting to get something that looks kind of like a shark. So I could use my crease tool or my standard brush with the plus minus. To cut into this a bit. Okay, so now I'm getting that weird stuff that we talked about. and you look at why, it's because these squares are stretched out and they're no longer square shaped. So what do I need to do? I need to go to my cube and hit remesh. Now I'm going to up the resolution and remesh at like, so I remeshed at 60 something, now I'm going to remesh at like 100. And maybe remesh again at 117. Remesh at 150. Now I got something that I can really work with here. Standard brush, plus minus. Alright, so that's like a basic shark here. I could go in and do more to this, but for our purposes that would be okay. So that's how you would do it. Making that, I'm going to undo back a bunch of times and get back to, yeah, I'll just start over. Skip save. Start with a new sphere. So keep wireframe on, make a new material, lit sphere, white, apply to selection. Okay, so now I'm back here. Let's explore a different option. So using the pull tool, slide the size slider up to elongate this shape. So I was trying to make a shark last time, but that's just because, you know, I started making something that kind of looked like a shark, so I wanted to finish that out. But if you wanted to make that, you can by all means rewind and then just kind of pause it and go along with it slowly. But don't stress out about making it just like mine, and certainly don't try to make it look exactly like anything. That's not the purpose of this project. Okay, I've never seen anything in the sea that looks like this, but that's a pretty good reason to try something. It's like, yeah, I've never seen anything like this. So the flatten tool is good for making these more like some kind of fin. See how this geometry is, these lines are really stretching? That's a good sign that I should remesh. So I'm going to up the resolution to 90s. 95 is good, remesh. I'm going to up the resolution again to 150, remesh. I'm going to up it one more time to 171. So by being careful with the pull tool and only pulling, you know, a little bit at a time and never pulling and changing direction, you can end up with good results, and then when you need to, you can remesh. So I'm going to take my smooth tool. I got it nice and big, and you can see when I go over this that it does in fact get rid of some of the things that look a bit strange. Okay, I wanted to do some more pulling though. So I'm going to turn this size down. I'm going to make like things coming off of this. Very quickly I get a strange looking mesh and need to remesh again. It's going to redistribute all that so that now this piece here looks much more appropriate. I'm going to put some like spikes on him. Ooh, that one split into two because of the symmetry, and I kind of like it. So see the strange angular shapes? Gotta fix that. Remesh. About 180. That's pretty good. Alright, so everything's looking decent so far for what I wanted. What about if I wanted to color this thing in some way? I'm going to turn my grid off, or my wireframe off. Never turn the grid off, by the way. So you get lost in 3D space, you can't tell which way's up. Alright, so I smoothed some of that stuff out that I didn't like. So I got this nice white color, which is cool and everything, but I think I'm going to add some other colors. So you have a few tools here that you can use, and as long as you have some idea of how to pick colors from other apps like Sketchbook and other drawing apps, this is going to go really simple or really easy for you. It's going to go really smoothly. So let's say you got this color brush all the way over on the right. It works the same way as the others. You have a size slider and you have a strength slider. They do exactly what you think. If you turn the strength slider down, oops, I'm painting with white. Go to your white box here where there's like a color swatch, and you can pick a color and paint with it. So that's pretty cool. That's something we've never been able to do before. If you turn the strength slider up, now when you paint with it, it paints a lot, really all at once. But I don't want to do that. How about turning the size slider up? So that's a good way to cover the whole thing with one color. Good thing about this is that you can go right over top of it with whatever color you want. So if I turn the size slider down, I turn my strength down, pick a different color like, I don't know, yellow. I can go right on to some of these forms and paint them yellow. Now you got to be kind of careful here because you had something that looked pretty cool. If you overdo it with all kinds of weird colors, I don't know. Personally, I don't think this looks as good as it did before, but kids like it, they think it's fun, so if you want to color it, go ahead. It's not going to affect the way that it looks in the end. None of this is going to transfer into VR or AR. You'll learn about why in a few lessons. So I got all this stuff going on. I'm gonna add like some eyes to this thing, and then I'm gonna paint them. Okay, so I got some weird stuff going on there. It's not painting the way I want it to. What do? I should remesh that thing at a slightly higher resolution, but don't get too high here. If you get the resolution up too high, you can really get into some weird problems with overloading the app. That's pretty good though. One thing that I like about Forger is that you can actually paint and then you can sculpt while you're doing it. Not every app does that. Some apps you have to go all the way into paint mode. But like I can smooth these out even after I've painted them. And then see how I got these extra little white spots on here? I don't like that. I want to get rid of those. Now here's one way to do it. Not a very good way, but if you go to your color tool and you try to pick that color again, you might get it, but you might not. Like that doesn't look like it. So I'm going to undo, and I'm going to show you a better way. Notice down at the bottom where your plus minus button used to be. In the color tool, you got a new one. So this is plus minus in a regular sculpting tool. In the color tool, it looks like an eyedropper. And if you hold that down with your left hand, your circle turns green, and anything you touch, your color automatically picks that exact color. So now I have the very same pink that I used the first time, and it blends in perfectly. If I wanted to go back in with some of this yellow, hold the eyedropper tool, touch on the yellow, and now it has selected that color exactly as it was. So that's pretty neat. I would avoid using too many colors in one thing. Like, I think this thing might look better without the yellow. I think it might look better just all like this. I like that more. You might not. You may want a bunch of colors. You know, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter in the end. It's just about what you like. Alright, so I got eyes now. I need some teeth. I'm gonna make like all of a sudden it got kind of scary looking. That's okay, I like that. That's cool. So when you're finished with that, take a screenshot and submit.